right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to kind of get started. First of all, welcome to the holiday APT party. Obviously, I am not Marianne. I am Antoinette. For those that don't know me, I'm the treasurer and kind of fourth in line to lead the meeting. So I am what you got. but So we're going to start off with Ralph. Ralph is going to talk about his volunteer experience at the Independence National Park. I see that most of you have got some food. There should be plenty there. There's hot food as well as cold food, so help yourself. And Ralph will be in between you and getting more food. After Ralph is done, we have some awards to give out. We're going to do the white elephant. I've got some announcements, but it's not going to be the typical hour-and-a-half meeting. And and also we have everybody on Zoom on our screen. So everybody wave. Because Ralph does not have a PowerPoint presentation, and we thank him for that.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. And hello, is that better? Thanks a lot. And hello to everybody on Zoom. My name is Ralph Marano. I've been a member here for maybe 4 or 5 years. And I think it was a few months ago, Marianne and I were chatting about my new experience. And she said, well, why don't you come talk about it some night? So that's why I'm here. I'm really having a wonderful time as a volunteer ranger at Independence Hall National Park. The process to become one is a little more complicated, but it's been a wonderful experience. And I want to mention that I'm not the only APT member who volunteers there. Most of you know Ginger. She's usually at the desk in the visitor center every Friday. We know that Charlie Kruger has been out of action a little bit, but he's been a volunteer ranger up there for years, along with Al Cavalieri, who maintains homes in New York and Philadelphia. So when he's down here, he volunteers at the park as well. And David Schwartz, who I don't know, is also one of our members who volunteers there. And I got started. I always wanted to volunteer there. I thought it would be kind of cool to do. And I was looking online, and there was never any opportunity to do it. And then most of you remember earlier this year, we had the job fair. And that was when I first met. The park rangers were there, the supervisory ranger and 2 of the rangers that coordinate the volunteers were there. And they explained how things worked, and I gave them my information. And then when positions were available, they emailed me, and that's how the process started. The group that I started with, there were 12 of us that started, and we were the first group that they oriented since 2016. And the Park Service has a lot of turnover, you know, for the rangers and the permanent staff there. For them to get promoted, they often need to move around, and so there's an awful lot of turnover there anyway. So they were desperate for some more volunteers, and of the 12 of us, I think 8 of us stuck with it and are there now. So the way the process worked is once I told them I was interested and I filled out the online form stuff, they called us in for an orientation. It was about 4 hours altogether, and about half of it was sort of the art of interpretation. Some of you saw Gwen's Zoom last week on interpretation, and she's a wonderful, one of the supervisors there, and she's really good. But they spent most of the time in the classroom talking about how to interpret. You know, it's not just giving them facts, it's trying to get the people involved and put context around all the stuff that happened there. So after that, they took us around to all the sites. So they showed us where all the posts would be. And I should mention that there are actually 2 different categories. All the people you see with the Smokey the Bear hats, They are all called rangers, but their job titles are actually either ranger or guide. And the ranger is, I think it's a higher pay grade, and the rangers do more. The rangers can give tours of Independence Hall, Congress Hall, and the old City Hall where the Supreme Court met. The guides don't give tours. They man the stations, they take tickets, they interact with people, but they don't give the tours. So if you choose to volunteer with them, you can either volunteer as a ranger or a guide. They knew I was an experienced tour guide, so they quickly pressured me to become a ranger, which is a little more involved. But the way the process works is after that initial orientation, you have to go through a security check, a background check. And that takes 6 to 8 weeks. You know, you fill out the paperwork, you answer all the questions, and then you wait. As soon as you do that, you can begin to shadow rangers or guides, depending upon what you're going to be. So I was able to, in civilian clothes, I was able to shadow rangers and have them explain to me what they were doing, and I could observe them and ask all the questions. Most of these rangers, they're all highly educated. Most, not, but not all, are history majors. But we've got dance majors, art majors, theater. It's really interesting the kind of backgrounds that people brought to this. So while you're shadowing, you know, you don't have access, you don't have your badge and anything yet, so you have to stick with the ranger. Once your security clearance comes through, then they give you a uniform. And there's a summer uniform and a winter uniform. And they give you the shirts and the hats and the jackets, and you have to supply your own pants. Um, but once you have your uniform, you can then pass freely through security as much as you want. You don't need to go through the security gates like everybody else. So you begin to, you know, continue to shadow, and then whenever you think you're ready, you begin to submit outlines. In order to give a tour of Independence Hall or Congress Hall, you have to submit an outline to them. It doesn't have to be lengthy. It doesn't have to be real fancy. They want to make sure that you have the most important salient points and that you understand the context and so forth. So once you submit those outlines, then the rangers look them over and approve them. And once they're approved, they say, okay, now you can begin giving tours. So you let us know when you're ready. And of course, that first one is always a little nerve wracking. Um, but it's been so much fun. You meet people from all over the world. Many people, many foreign visitors come in. I don't know if you're aware of this, but in the Liberty Bell Center, there's about a 10-minute video about the Liberty Bell. They have that in 8 languages. And so, you know, if I'm the person standing at the first position in the Liberty Bell, and I've done this many times, and I'll see someone come in who appears foreign, and they're looking at something and reading it and translating it for everybody else around them, I'll approach them and say, you know, what is your native language? And guess what? We have that video in your language. And so we have a little alcove where they can go in and watch, and they're very, very appreciative of that. Particularly the foreigners who don't speak a lot of English are really appreciative of that. What the day is like, they only require, because people ask, well, how many hours do I have to give? They would like to see a minimum of 8 hours a month, which isn't much. Many of the volunteers work a 4-hour shift. That's what I do. I prefer to do 9 to 1, and then some folks do 1 to 5. Every morning at 9 o'clock, or actually at 8:45, we meet in Congress Hall for the update. And so you're sitting in the same spaces that the first U.S. Congress here in Philadelphia sat in, and you get the updates on what's happening for that day, anything open, closed. We do know that they are hurting for people. Most of you know the second bank, which is the wonderful portrait gallery, has been closed. There's nothing wrong with the building. They simply don't have the staff to staff it. So they're in need of volunteers, and they are taking some steps. I spoke a couple times with Steve Sims, the superintendent. I think he got tired of seeing me because I kept saying, "Have you hired that new volunteer coordinator yet?" They have posted the position and they're interviewing, so there will be a new full-time volunteer coordinator there, that whose job it will be, among other things, to not only take care of the existing volunteers, but to go out and market and solicit and recruit new volunteers. So it's really been a great experience. I want to make sure I didn't forget anything. Um, that's really about it. Um, I just have had a wonderful time, and I think anybody would enjoy it. You're all experienced tour guides, so you wouldn't have any problem dealing with the people. And it's been a lot of fun. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have, either from live or folks on Zoom. Yes. The question was, do I have a contact name? Well, right now they're not authorized yet. So that was my point of comment. I wanted to kind of give everybody, a heads up that at some point soon, and as soon as I find out, believe me, we will spread the word that they are looking for people, and I'll make sure everybody knows how to do that. Sure. Mm. No, you could not do that. I'm sorry, the question was, can you volunteer to only do one particular aspect of a ranger's duties? No, you can't. When I first started, I wanted to do just Independence Hall tours first, but they said that's not the way it works. What happens at the morning in the briefing, the rangers get their schedules, real state of the art, on paper, on paper. Literally, it's a little piece of paper, and what happens is they'll have on the side, let's say it's Ranger Smith, it'll have on the side, it'll write VI. By the way, they call us VIPs, very important people. They are wonderful to us. And on the side, it will say VIP Marano 9 to 1. And then the ranger will come up to me, well, Ralph, you're me today from 9 to 1. Review what the duties are. He or she will ask me if I have any questions, and literally they'll just tear the paper in half, and that's my routine for the day. So you can't pick and choose. There are a few volunteers who've been there for some time that only works specific places, but that's not the norm.
Besides Independence Hall,
Mhm.
what are the other spots that
Okay.
are possible?
So everybody heard the question. Within the square block, you have Independence Hall, and that has two rooms. It has the courtroom on the left and the assembly room on the right. That's about a 20-minute tour where the ranger literally spends 10 minutes in the first room. Everybody goes across the hall for the second half, and then they exit the building and the new people come in. Congress Hall is the same way. Congress Hall, you can do first floor and second floor. The first floor was where the House met. The second floor is where the Senate met. There's one building that is a self-guided tour. It's the West Wing. And what they have at the West Wing are documents, a Constitution and Articles of Confederation, etc. It's very dim in there, but that's self-guided for people. Then we have the old City Hall at 5th and Chestnut, which was the City Hall for the city of Philadelphia. And during the 10 years that Philadelphia was the capital, from 1790 to 1800, the city allowed the United States Supreme Court to use that room. So that was the first place where the Supreme Court met. They're all contained in the one square block. Then you have the Liberty Bell Center, and then the Franklin Museum at between 3rd and 4th and Market and Chestnut. There is the Franklin Printing Office that is only open on weekends right now. And I don't know of any volunteers that actually print there, but Rangers do. And I'm going to try to get my hands on them things if I can. I'm trying to think. There's also an Edgar Allan Poe house, which is up further north. There's the Kosciuszko House at 3rd Street. I think that's about it that's open right now. They're working on the Declaration House where Jefferson wrote the Declaration at 7th and Market. And of course, you know, the first bank is being worked on. And if they had the staff, they would do the second bank as well. I don't think the Todd House is on. I'm sorry. The question was, what about the Todd House? I don't believe that's. I don't think that's part of what they offer at this point. And even the Ben Franklin Museum, by the way, is not run by the Park Service. It's run by a separate company, but there are always rangers stationed in there to answer questions. And if you first walk in, they have an harmonica. That's the instrument that Franklin invented, and there are a few rangers that know how to play that. And on certain occasions, they will play a song for you in there.
Is the
Mhm. I wish I could answer that. I really can't. I mean, I know that they need staff. They got a lot of buildings right now. There's that big project right in the middle next to the Liberty Bell. They're replacing the central air conditioning cooler for all the buildings, and they definitely want to get those restrooms open again before 26. You know, yeah, yeah. There are there are no bathrooms within the square. So the closest the so you know it's either the visitor center now. The Wawa on the corner has bathrooms. I think you need to get a code. I, yeah. Okay. 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 Go ahead, Joe. You got a question?
Yeah, I was wondering about the new hall, the military museum. I can never find it open. Is it ever open?
Don't know. Don't the I don't know. You know, we refer people to other places, and the map that they provide to people has some of these other buildings that are either not open right now or not affiliated with the Park Service. It's a really great map, but I don't know about the military museum, Joe.
Okay, well, I guess it's going to be something, right? This is a sesquicentennial for everything, right? The Army, the Navy, the Marines all begin next year.
That's that's the hope.
Okay, so they just put in that park with the big Liberty Bell that Queen Elizabeth donated.
The bicentennial
That
bell.
is a lovely park, and it's a great addition. It also sits on the site of Benjamin Rush's house, and there's nothing there that talks about Benjamin Rush.
Good. Judy can answer that.
So that's a pet peeve of mine too, because of Benjamin Rush is the founder of my college. So I ran into Jonathan Burton, and they do have a grant, $100,000 grant to restore the signage. So that will be coming, he promised.
Oh, good, good, good to know. Good to know.
I'm sorry.
No, not the visitor center. At the Liberty Bell. When you're the Liberty Bell will always have 3 rangers in it. rangers or guides stationed in that building. The first one stands in the front and greets people as they come in and has control of those foreign language videos and materials. The one actually by the bell, that person's job is really to protect the bell. And well, I know it's Italian, German, Spanish, Japanese, Chinese, Russian. I know it's not Czech. Portuguese, I think, is one, because I had some folks that wanted it in Czech and I didn't have it. So they have a lot of printed materials in other languages also. Mhm.
Hi.
Hi.
Besides the joy of being able to impart information and knowledge to your fellow mankind, are there any incentives, not incentives, any because this is a volunteer position, are there any benefits or perks, thank you, that's the word, for a volunteer ranger?
Good question. Yes, I neglected to mention that. One big one is training. For example, this past Sunday, they had a group of rangers and volunteers go up to what's called the Germantown White House. It's the house where George Washington moved during the yellow fever epidemic and actually had his cabinet meetings up there. And he liked the house so much that the next summer, he just decided to go up there and spend the summer up there. I was unfortunately not able to make that trip. I was scheduled, I was dying to go, and I couldn't. But they do offer training opportunities. There's an awful lot of recognition and feedback. Almost every day at briefing, after the supervisor has given all the information and any other questions, anything else, the last thing they always say is, let's hear it for our volunteers. They all pound the table and say huzzah and all that good stuff. So you really feel very, very welcome there.
Hello, I didn't. Hello, I'm on Zoom.
So when you're, all right, so when you go to volunteer and as he had asked about being able to be just at one site, now when you prepare your speeches per each, you have to have one for like what, 6 sites?
Well, if you're doing the ranger schedule, you
Mhm.
have to have Independence Hall, which is 2 rooms, Congress
Yeah, I
Hall,
know
first and
which- right,
second
right,
floor,
right.
the old City Hall, and they want something on the Liberty Bell. Although in the Liberty Bell and Old City Hall, you don't really give a lot. It's more like an open house in those places where people come in and ask questions, and believe me, they ask
Oh,
questions,
yeah.
and we give a lot of information, but it's not, it's not a prepared presentation.
Okay, because I know when I go in or have a group, we'll ask some very,
Mhm.
you got to know your stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yes, you do. And I've only been doing this a few months, and my experience as a tour guide has not been in Old City. My experience has been in neighborhood tours. So I had to bone up an awful lot on the history of colonial era Philadelphia to be able to do this. And it's all I've been reading is history for the last 6 months. But
Great.
So how strict is the background check? It's a serious.
Well, I passed it, and I have no idea. I don't know if anybody actually doesn't make it, but it's well, they're different levels of background. Yeah, right.
Well, it is pretty intensive. I guess about 7 years ago, they raised the whole bar. It would be difficult for me to go back and be a volunteer after 21 years there, without getting my background, and even though they know all my life, right? So it's pretty difficult, and if you've got like a criminal record, they might kick you out. So yeah, it's difficult.
Well, I think it is important to understand that the background check as a volunteer, is not as extensive as it would be for a paid ranger. We don't have keys. Volunteers don't have keys to all the buildings. And so the security risk is considered low for volunteers. Jen?
Question from Zoom from Constance. I'm particularly interested in the Desher Morris House in Germantown. It is seldom open. Are they accepting volunteers for that?
The reason that they had this training opportunity up there last weekend was because it has been closed for 2 years. And most of the rangers, probably haven't ever worked up there. I don't know what kind of physical presence they're going to have for rangers there, and I don't know that. I mean, I know what my experience has been, but I'm a volunteer. I'm not in on the planning sessions of what's going to open next. So I wish I had more on that, but I don't. One more? Okay.
All right. So do you know, is it, you just go and inquired? What did you do? You just inquired to someone, or, until they have this person in position?
Well, I met them at the job fair. I
Okay.
met them at our job fair, and was that January or February? We had the job fair. They were there, and that's where I met them.
Right.
Is the Long Gallery in Independence Hall on the second floor not open to the public anymore?
The second floor of Independence Hall is open for 1 tour a day. The only thing you need tickets for in the Independence Park is tours of Independence Hall itself. The tours go every 20 minutes, and you get your tickets online. They're free, but there's a $1 administration fee. So nothing else needs tickets. Now, there is 1 tour reserved, and this changes from time to time, but right now there's 1 tour reserved at 4:15 every day, where it's a tour that includes the second floor. And that's right on the website. The website for tickets is recreation.gov. So if you went on that website and looked for tickets for that day, you'd see that there's tickets available for the second floor on that one tour a day. And they change things, from time to time. When the weather gets cold and there's fewer visitors, they might have, like right now, Independence Hall is an open house from 9 to 10:30. You don't need tickets. You don't need tickets at all from. That's correct. 9 to 10:30, and then the first tour begins then at 10:40.
When I look online, it says you can wander around the hall, but there's no guide, right? So that 1 hour and a half, you're just wandering around on your own.
Well, no, there's staff in there. There's staff in there. We rotate every 20 minutes. So there's 3 staff. There's 3 rangers in that hall during that open house. 1 in the assembly room, 1 in the courthouse, and 1 that greets people as they come in.
The way it reads online, it seems like you're just wandering on your own.
No,
Okay, thank you.
no, yeah. Same with Congress Hall when they have open houses there. There were open houses there in the morning. I think the Rangers prefer open houses in the afternoons, because if you get a large school group with an open house in the morning, you could have 2, and it's an open house. If there's no limit, it could be crazy. So,
So the group, I'm like, okay, if you want to get an independent zone, you want to get ahead of me, you better get one. So there's nobody there to organize anybody. So, but they. You're very good. In the afternoon, in the evening, when it's still there, you don't have that.
and this is a generalization, but the school groups from foreign lands are much more polite. We good? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ralph. So, we don't have any presents for anybody, but what we did want to do was just to recognize some very active APT members. And so the first one I'm going to start with is actually okay. So I won't start with her. Okay. Thanks, Jen. Okay, so the first one is the best in-person meeting attendance. And there was a tie for two people. So we actually, were able to spring for two certificates. One goes to Nina. And the other goes to Dan Hensel. And he's not here. He was, yeah, he was here. So this one was actually pretty impressive. This person actually attended the most training sessions. She's a new APT member, and it is Alexandria. So yes, we actually do take attendance and then we do something with it. So please continue to fill out your attendance sheet. You did. Congratulations for most in-person attendances. Okay. All right. So the next two are for our virtual members because we keep track of people on Zoom, and they are Charlie Kruger and Lena Pinto. All right, the next person is not here, and she actually gets two awards. She's an overachiever. She actually does get involved in a lot of committees. She's also a brand new member. And so for best field trip attendance, it goes to Charlene Myers and Bonita Harmon. And then Charlene also gets an award for most volunteering on different committees. So she's on the handbook committee. She's on a lot of different things, and she's been a really nice addition to APT. And she did a great presentation of the President's House, which is also an unguided piece in Independence National Park. The other person it was a tie. It was a three-way tie for Rich DeLulo and Patricia Burns, or Tish Burns, for volunteering for APT events. So congratulations. But what I'm also going to acknowledge is that really, this is the first year I've been on the APT board, but I have to say that every single person on our board has actually really stepped up and done a lot for APT. So let's just also give a hand to Jen Hensel, Pam Covey, Vince, and Jim Murphy. So, as you probably can figure, like Marianne has us going in a lot of different directions, and we all, chip in, and we actually all pull our weight. And so I appreciate all of you, and I've enjoyed this last year being on the board. So just a couple other announcements. Number one, and Mike Teedy, he is also our vice president. He unfortunately had a death, and he had to go to a funeral this weekend. So that's why he's not here. And everybody just keep Marianne's father in your prayers because he is not well right now. So, Oh, okay. Yeah. Can you hold on, Pam? Let me just. So, so there are actually Old City maps on the table that we got picked up from the Old City. There are also coupons to Sammy Sua. I don't, is that how you pronounce it? It's the Georgian place in Reading Terminal Market. Yes, yes, we've had like Sammy Somi, and it's a Georgian place. And if you like cheese, you have to go here. And there's a 10% off coupons that are there for you guys as well. So feel free to take one of those as well as an Old City map. And Campo stopped by, and they're one of our corporate members, and they gave us cookies to take home as well. So just another couple housekeeping notes. The next meeting is actually going to be January 15th because January 1st is actually a Wednesday. And so the second Wednesday is the 8th. It's all a little too close to the holidays, and I'm on vacation. And so we're moving that meeting to the 15th, and that will be held here. One thing that we are kind of investigating is maybe having some of our meetings next year at Christ Church. We actually were able to tour the Great Hall. There's some logistics and audio things that we want to work out. But they also want to become a corporate member, and they want to give us, the space for free. So hey, let's go. The chairs are comfortable. And the Ebenezer Maxwell House, that outing has been delayed. I just got that information like 10 minutes ago. So anyone that signed up for it, it's not going to go through this Friday. Mike, when he's back, will actually reschedule that for us. Yes, please. Yes. And okay. So even if you go on your own, the Victorian Santa costumes will not be there till next week. And then I also wanted to mention, I've had some questions about the NFTGA insurance for guides, which you need if you're going to be guiding in Independence National Park. The new insurance, it's actually gone down to $85. However, this new carrier is not offering like a half year. So if you're only thinking, oh, I'm going to get it and starting in July for half price, it's not going to be half price. So you might as well get it now for the $85. Then we'll do the white elephant afterwards. But then there's also some announcement over the TKTS.
Just really quickly, I have some brochures for the tickets concession in the visitor center. I'm going to leave on the center table with the city maps.
Yes. So TKTS is actually a program that was started by the Visitor Center to actually help the theater industry here in Philadelphia because it hasn't quite recovered after COVID. And so TKTS in New York, you might be familiar with, where you can go get same day discounted tickets. You have to go in person. Well, it's a similar thing, except you can do it up to 3 days in advance. You can go to the visitor center and actually buy discounted tickets for any number of plays here in the city. And they're discounted between 30 and 50%. So pretty good deal. And just one more thing, there's many of you have already renewed your membership for 2025. If you don't want to go through the website and you want to do it right now, I can actually take your credit card on my phone and take care of the renewal right here. So that's right. That's right. Yeah, you give me, and actually it saves us on square fees because the card is present rather than doing it through the website. So just another advantage, and just why put off what you can do now? $40 now versus $60 for an individual membership after January 1st. So exactly. Do you want to talk about the NFTGA?
Just real fast, I know Mary Ann put something out in the newsletter this week. We have 87 registered already, which is huge. I have to cut it off. It's either going to be cut off at 100 or probably by December 20th, if whatever comes first. So just so you know, if you're still debating on whether or not to register or come, you better do it like real soon, because I still have a number of the conference that's the end of January. Okay, the national conference. So just so you know.
All right. Anybody else? Yes, Rich. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. We were just clapping for Rich wanted us to specifically recognize the two board members that are not here, being Mary Ann and Mike, because they have put in a lot of work, and it is all volunteer and unpaid. So just like our first mayor.